only one I was like saying, wow, was Gaël Kakuta.
You really think he was the best player you played with?
You ask me, talent. Gaël Kakuta by far number one. You know, I play against him a lot because I used to play in Lille and he was playing in Lens. So me, being me, we used to win every game, 5-6-0. Me, best player every game, bam. And then every time we play against him, we're losing game. He's best player.
Really?
What? No, this is not normal.
This was Eden Hazard's voice hyping up a kid who once looked like Chelsea's next big thing. A player who made Chelsea deliberately break FIFA rules, risking fines and transfer bans to sign him. The game's legends sang his praises, calling his future bright, way before it seemed legit. One glimpse of him dancing with the ball, and you'd swear he was magic. The praises pumped up the hype balloon, swelling his ego to the point where he took his talent for granted. His name, Gaël Kakuta.
Might be the last chance for Chelsea. Oh, yes! What
Eden Hazard stands tall as one of the club's greatest ever. His 7 years at Chelsea was a breathtaking ride of pure magic, leaving fans with epic memories and the club with a tidy profit from his blockbuster transfer to Real Madrid. The likes of Mourinho, Conte and Sarri get the lion's share of credit for moulding the Belgian maestro into a legend, etching moments in Chelsea lore that'll never fade. Yet, the unsung hero behind Hazard's arrival, French scout Guy Hillian, rarely gets his due. His name's absent from Chelsea's official website and likely any glossy club records, despite being a talent-spotting wizard. Spotting Hazard at Lille, Hillian didn't just see a star. He saw a supernova, filing glowing reports from when the Belgian was just 17, urging Chelsea to splash the cash and sign him swiftly. Having had stints with Nantes, Bordeaux and Rennes, Hillian had developed a finely tuned understanding of the French football scene, especially with regard to the younger talents bubbling away in youth teams. Joining the Blues in 2006, he was tasked with unearthing gems, and soon stumbled across a prodigy he called the most gifted player of his generation. This wasn't Hazard, but a 16-year-old sensation tearing it up in Lens youth ranks, Gaël Kakuta. Hillian, blown away after multiple watches, boldly told Chelsea's brass this kid was the world's best young talent, pushing them to act fast before the competition for him get keener. At the time, Chelsea had become a strutting newcomer on the scene, a gatecrasher into the elite group of clubs that had both the money and the players to compete with the best. Lens, by contrast, were a small-time outfit, financially outmatched, and it looked like Chelsea leaned hard into their underdog status, snatching Gaël Kakuta with more of a bulldozer vibe than a gentle persuasion. Lens had put out a clear warning to clubs, including Chelsea, to steer clear, stating that Kakuta had inked a pre-contract deal at 14 to stick with them from age 16. But this kid was a gem, and with Guy Hillian's glowing reports lighting the way, Chelsea were dead set on grabbing him, no matter the cost or speed. They shrugged off Lens' claims, arguing the pre-contract wasn't legally binding under English law. Indeed, such agreements for minors were not enforceable, unlike in France where they were considered valid. Chelsea exploited this legal loophole, encouraging Kakuta to join them without compensating Lens. When Lens' general manager, Francois Collado, kicked up a storm over the shady transfer, Chelsea's response was blunt. "Take this and shut up." I explained the FIFA rules to Peter Kenyon and told him, "You're risking a fine and a transfer ban." Chelsea said, "Take this and shut up." I rejected it and said, "Watch out, gentlemen," recounted Francois Collado. Failing to heed to Collado's warning, Kenyon probably thought it was an empty threat. Chelsea, moreover, underestimated how much influence then French Football Federation President Jean-Pierre Escalets wielded. He was disgusted with the anecdote Collado gave him when the Blues attempted to shortchange Lens, a club with no financial muscle. Lens pushed back, demanding justice, and FIFA's investigation landed firmly in their favour. In September 2009, FIFA's dispute resolution chamber dropped the hammer. Kakuta, who'd been playing in Chelsea Blue since 2007, was slapped with a 4-month playing ban and a staggering €780,000 fine. Chelsea were hit with a €130,000 fine payable to loans as compensation for luring Kakuta to break his contract and banned from signing players for 2 transfer windows. Chelsea, unfazed, vowed to mount the strongest appeal possible, taking their case to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, confident they'd win. The court, after digging into the details, ruled Kakuta's contract with Lawns wasn't legally binding, meaning no breach occurred. Sanctions on both player and club were scrapped, with the transfer ban suspended and fully lifted by September 2010. The French club lost out due to some technical negligence in their paperwork, but a reported sum of £2.6 million was paid to them by Chelsea, smoothing over any bad blood. Kakuta was now free to shine for Chelsea, ready to prove Guy Hillian's hype was spot on. Chelsea slotted him into their youth team. It wasn't long before he stepped up to the reserves, where he once played alongside Michael Ballack, who was on his way back from injury. The youngster's exuberant skill and application clearly impressed the seasoned German. After the game, he advised journalists to "Go see the French lad, he is the star." Everything was lining up to prove Guy Hillian had indeed spotted a gem for Chelsea. Gaël Kakuta's first season was electric, earning him Academy Scholar of the Year and Academy Player of the Year honours. As a midfielder, he bagged an impressive 12 goals in 24 games for the youth team, still limited to the reserves in the 2008-2009 season under Luis Felipe Scolari. Chelsea marked his card for an early potential promotion to the first-team squad, but disaster struck in February 2009. A brutal double ankle fracture sidelined him for 6 months. By the time he recovered, Carlo Ancelotti was in charge, and the Italian was also wowed by Kakuta's talents and began giving him some first-team minutes. Making his Champions League debut against Apoel, becoming Chelsea's youngest ever player in the competition, the match ended in a 2-2 draw, and Carlo Ancelotti was dissatisfied with the team's performance, but Kakuta stood out. "The only positive of the night was Gaël Kakuta," the Italian declared. "He played very well, he showed his fantastic talent. He trains very well every day and will be the future of Chelsea." But Kakuta wanted to be the present of Chelsea, not the future. The 2010-2011 season saw him getting more involved enough to feel valued, but not enough for consistent minutes. Ancelotti was aware of managers' time-limited reigns at Chelsea, means an understandable reluctance to take risks with untried talents, especially when more experienced, reliable options are to hand, even if this means alienating potential future stars. Kakuta expressed dissatisfaction with his bench-warming role and a desire for more first-team football. A loan period with Fulham seemed to provide the answer for all parties. It was a chance for the Craven Cottage club to have the services one of the brightest young stars in the country, regular game time for the Frenchman, and Chelsea would receive a more mature player back at season's end. Having signed for Fulham in January 2011, by the end of his time at Craven Cottage, things looked likely to suggest the move may have been ill-conceived. The move flopped. Kakuta managed just 7 league appearances, mostly off the bench, scoring once. A subsequent loan to Bolton was equally fruitless, and a later stint at Dijon in France didn't fare much better. With Chelsea's managerial merry-go-round in full swing, Kakuta's quest for minutes led him to yet another loan, this time at Vitesse Arnhem. The Dutch outfit had established a close relationship with Chelsea and were often regarded as a nursery club, taking on promising youngsters from Stamford Bridge and developing them before sending them back or seeing them sold to other clubs. Nemanja Matic, Tomas Kalas and Slobodan Rajkovic all came back better or landed solid moves elsewhere. The Eredivisie, with its attack-happy style and often shaky defences, seemed perfect for a flair player like Kakuta. PSV's 103-goal haul that season screamed opportunity, and with relegation fodder like Roda JC, VVV Venlo and Willem II on the menu, you'd bet Kakuta would feast. Vitesse even smashed 10 past ADO 20 in the Dutch Cup. But Kakuta? Not a single goal against those strugglers. His loan was extended for another season, hoping he'd find his groove, but Chelsea yanked him back in January 2014, only to ship him off to Lazio in Serie A. Whispers suggested Kakuta felt the Eredivisie wasn't challenging enough to boost his career. but a record of 2 goals in 30-odd league games hardly suggested he was ripping up the Dutch league. Guy Hillian's bold claim that Kakuta was the generation's best talent was starting to look like hot air. Hillian stood by his words, but didn't hold back on the criticism. Frankly, I don't know why he put an end to his stay with the Dutch club. It is a huge waste. I already said it, and I repeat it. He is the most gifted player of his generation. He could have been exceptional, but talent is not enough. When you pile on failures and there is trouble in any club where you played, you have to ask the right questions and question yourself. There was Bolton, Fulham and Dijon too. You can't manage everything in a player's career. You can't manage what is on his mind, his entourage or his family. The Lazio loan was a total flop. Just 2 cameo appearances off the bench. Returning to Chelsea with only 12 months left on his deal, it was crystal clear his days at Stamford Bridge were numbered. Any further loans would just be delaying the inevitable or putting him in the shop window for other clubs. With Jose Mourinho steering the ship for the 2014-2015 season, there was no room for Kakuta in a Chelsea squad. A switch to La Liga's Rayo Vallecano. But it wasn't nearly enough to earn a spot on Chelsea's bench, let alone the starting 11 of the newly crowned English champions. After 8 years of promise that never quite delivered, Chelsea released him in 2015. His Rayo stint caught the eye of some Spanish clubs, and at 23, Kakuta signed a 4-year deal with Sevilla. Still young enough to dream big, he seemed far from done. But what followed was a slow slide into obscurity. Just 2 league games later, Sevilla happily cashed in a £5 million offer from Chinese Super League side Hebei China Fortune. From there, it was a nomadic blur. Deportivo La Coruña, Amiens, back to Rayo, a second stint at Amiens, a return to Lens, a third go at Amiens, a spell at Esteghlal in Iran, and finally Sakaryaspor in Turkey. Kakuta showed occasional glimpses of his old magic, but he was a shadow of the prodigy once hailed as French football's next big thing. In a twist, he even switched international allegiance to his ancestral DR Congo. That was how far he'd drifted from the spotlight. At least with Charlie Musonda Jr., another gem once considered to be the next big thing at Chelsea. You could point to injuries being the reason for his career painful going down the line. But Gaël Kakuta's downfall is tougher to explain. His slide into obscurity is less straightforward. Did he lean too heavily on his natural gifts, assuming they'd be enough? Sort of. Vitesse's manager Fred Rutten repeatedly called him out for unprofessionalism, like showing up late to training. Chelsea's ex-goalkeeper coach, Christoph Loloshin, had a similar take in 2014. He needs someone to guide him, show him the way. But he's also a little stubborn. He has an idea of what football is, but he needs to understand it's up to him to adapt to the others, to the team. Kakuta's hype was built on his electrifying youth-level displays, which had everyone buzzing. But when it was time to make the leap to senior football, he fell way short, adding his name to the long list of prodigious talents who never quite shone on the grand stage.